Have you ever found yourself in the middle of an argument, your heart racing, your voice getting louder, and your thoughts clouded by frustration? Maybe it started with just a small disagreement, a casual comment from a friend, a miscommunication at work, or a heated reply on social media. But before you knew it, emotions took over, logic disappeared, and suddenly you're saying things you don't mean, or bottling up anger that sits with you for hours, sometimes days. We've all been there, that sinking feeling after the dust settles, when you replay the conversation in your head, thinking of all the better ways you could have handled it, wishing you had stayed calm, wishing you had responded with control, grace, and strength. Here's the good news. You can learn how to handle conflict like that, and not with fake positivity or surface-level communication hacks, but with time-tested wisdom from some of history's greatest minds, the Stoics. The Stoics, people like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, weren't just armchair philosophers writing pretty words for Instagram quotes. They were leaders, teachers, warriors, and survivors. People who faced betrayal, war, political pressure, and emotional turmoil on a scale most of us can't imagine. And yet, they managed to stay composed. They learned how to keep their emotions in check, how to respond, not react, how to argue without losing themselves. Today, we're diving deep into 15 Stoic strategies that will help you stay calm, win arguments with wisdom, and never lose your cool, even in the most intense confrontations. This is not about suppressing your feelings or letting people walk all over you. It's about learning how to control what truly matters, yourself. So take a deep breath, let go of whatever stress you've been holding on to, and let's begin. Strategy number 1, master the first pause. Win before you even speak. Let's get straight to the truth. The first few seconds of any argument can make or break you. That split second when your blood pressure spikes, when your face gets hot, when your brain starts screaming, say something, defend yourself, fire back. That's the moment where most people lose. The Stoics knew this all too well. That's why one of their core teachings was about learning to pause, especially when emotions start to rise. Epictetus said it best. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Think about that. It's not the words someone said. It's not the tone of their voice. It's your interpretation, your snap judgment, your emotional reaction to the moment. That's what starts the fire inside you. So the first Stoic strategy is this. Before you respond, pause. Feel your body. Notice your heartbeat. Acknowledge the anger, the frustration, the urge to react. Label the emotion. Okay, that's anger showing up. And then breathe. Even just 5 seconds of silence before saying a single word can change the entire trajectory of the conversation. You'll buy yourself time to think. You'll break the automatic emotional loop. You'll go from reactive to intentional. The goal isn't to suppress your feelings. It's to give yourself a fighting chance to respond in a way you won't regret later. That 5-second pause, it's your first, most powerful victory. Strategy number 2, separate the person from the problem. Here's another brutal truth. When we're angry, we stop seeing the person and start seeing the enemy. Suddenly, it's not just your coworker disagreeing with your idea. It's that arrogant jerk who never respects me. It's not your partner asking a difficult question. It's they're attacking me again. But Stoicism flips that thinking completely. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning, "Today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly, but none of them can harm me." Why did he do this? Because he knew human nature. He expected people to act out of ignorance, fear, and emotion, but he also knew their behavior didn't define him or control him. So here's your second Stoic strategy. Stop making it personal. Separate the person from the problem. Instead of thinking, this person is attacking me. Shift to, we're both stuck in an emotional moment, reacting badly to a situation. For example, if your coworker snaps at you in a meeting, instead of thinking, they hate me, consider, maybe they're under pressure, maybe they didn't sleep, maybe they're handling their own emotional chaos poorly right now. This doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior, but it stops you from escalating it. When you separate the person from the problem, you're able to focus on solutions, not just your ego. You argue less like a victim and more like a leader. You'll ask better questions. You'll choose better words. You'll keep your dignity intact. And at the end of the day, that's the kind of control the Stoics considered real strength. Strategy number 3. Zoom out. The cosmic perspective trick. Let's be honest. When you're in the middle of an argument, it feels like the most important thing in the world. Your heart is racing. Your pride is on the line. Your brain convinces you, this right here, this moment, this is life or death. But the Stoics had a way of dealing with that emotional tunnel vision. It's called the cosmic perspective. Here's how it works. Next time you're about to lose your temper, mentally zoom out. Picture your entire life as if you're looking at it on Google Earth. Start at your room, then your neighborhood, then your city, then your country, then the whole planet, then the solar system, then the galaxy. Now ask yourself, in the grand scheme of the universe, how much does this argument matter? Marcus Aurelius did this all the time. He wrote, "Observe the past, and you shall see that all things are but repeating themselves. The same things, all of them, from generation to generation," meaning, this moment feels huge now, but 5 years from now, you won't even remember what this argument was about. That coworker interrupting you, that rude comment on your Instagram post, that family member pushing your buttons. It's just noise, temporary, forgettable. This zoom out trick isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about keeping your emotions proportional to reality. Do you really want to trade your peace of mind for something that, in the cosmic timeline, means absolutely nothing? Next time you feel yourself getting pulled into emotional quicksand, zoom out, feel the smallness of the moment, and let that smallness set you free. Strategy number 4. Focus on what you can control. The Stoic superpower. Let's face it, one of the biggest reasons we get angry during conflict is because we desperately want to control things we can't. We want the other person to understand us, to apologize, to agree with our point of view, to change. But here's the harsh reality. You cannot control other people. Not their thoughts, not their emotions, not their actions, not their reactions. The Stoics were relentless about this truth. Epictetus said it loud and clear. Some things are up to us and some things are not. And the fastest way to make any argument worse is to focus on the things that aren't up to you. So what is up to you? How you breathe during the conflict, how you choose your words, whether you escalate or de-escalate, whether you listen or interrupt, whether you hold your ground with calm or lash out with anger. Think about it. You could spend all your energy trying to change the other person and end up exhausted, bitter, and unheard. Or you could put 100% of your focus on controlling the one thing that's always in your power, yourself. Here's a quick mental trick to help. Whenever you feel your frustration rising, ask yourself one simple question. Is this within my control or outside of it? If it's within your control, act with intention. If it's outside your control, let it go. Mentally put it in the not my business box. This doesn't mean you stay silent forever. It doesn't mean you accept bad behavior, but it does mean you refuse to let external chaos create internal chaos. That's Stoic mastery. For example, imagine your boss criticizes your work unfairly. You can't control their mood. You can't control their words, but you can control your reply. You can choose to stay calm, to ask clarifying questions, to defend your position respectfully, or to walk away and revisit the conversation later. That's real power. The Stoics didn't preach emotional control as some kind of passive acceptance of bad situations. They preached it as a tactical advantage, because when everyone else in the room is losing their cool, the person who stays calm, who responds with clarity, who controls what they can, that's the person who ends up with influence. So next time you're on the verge of snapping, pause. Ask yourself, what's actually in my control right now? Then, act accordingly. You'll be amazed at how much more powerful you feel, even in situations where you technically lost the argument, because the real victory is keeping your dignity, your peace, and your self-respect intact. That's Stoic winning. Strategy number 5. Use silence as a weapon and a shield. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say during an argument is nothing at all. We live in a world where people expect instant replies, quick comebacks, rapid-fire arguments. Someone insults you, and you feel this burning need to snap back, to defend, to retaliate. But the Stoics knew that silence is often your most strategic move. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best answer to anger is silence." Why? Because silence disarms people. It confuses them, it makes them uncomfortable, it forces them to sit with their own words, their own emotional outbursts, without giving them more fuel. Think about the last time someone raised their voice at you. Now imagine if, instead of reacting, you just looked at them calmly and said nothing. That moment of pause does something psychological. It throws them off balance. It makes them reflect, even if just for a second. But more importantly, silence gives you space. Space to breathe, space to think, space to decide. Do I even want to engage with this right now? And if I do, what's the most effective way? Here's the thing. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean letting the other person win. It means you're refusing to play the emotional tennis match they're serving. You don't have to return every angry shot. Sometimes, you just let the ball drop. You keep your energy. You protect your peace. And when you finally do speak, you'll do it with calm, with clarity, and with impact. Strategy number 6. Listen more than you speak. The Stoic superpower most people ignore. Let's be real. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reload. They're just waiting for their turn to speak, crafting their next argument in their head, while the other person is still talking. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Listening, real, active listening, is one of the most underrated conflict resolution tools on the planet. When you truly listen, you do 3 powerful things at once. You defuse tension, because people often just want to feel heard. You gather information, which gives you more ammunition to respond intelligently. You show control, because staying silent while someone else vents takes real discipline. Next time you're in an argument, try this. Instead of jumping in with your defense, stay quiet. Make eye contact. Nod occasionally to show you're engaged. Let them speak until they're completely done. And when you finally respond, start with something like, "I hear what you're saying. Let me make sure I understood you correctly." Then calmly reflect back their main points before offering your perspective. This does 2 things. First, it makes them feel respected. Second, it forces you to slow down and respond with intention, not emotion. And guess what? When people feel heard, they naturally become less defensive. The tone of the conversation shifts. Walls start to come down. Real dialogue becomes possible. If you're the one who stays calm, who listens first, who speaks second, you'll almost always control the direction of the conversation. It's counterintuitive, but incredibly effective, because at the end of the day, the person who listens the most often ends up saying the fewest words, but making the biggest impact. That's Stoic communication. Before moving on, take a second and really reflect on this. How many arguments in your life could have gone better if you had just paused, stayed silent, or truly listened first? Mastering these 2 simple strategies, silence and listening, will instantly separate you from 90% of people out there who are still stuck in reaction mode. Stay calm, stay grounded, and let them wonder why they can't shake you. Strategy number 7. Offer empathy without losing yourself. Let's be honest. When someone's coming at you with anger, accusations, or passive-aggressive comments, the last thing you feel like doing is being empathetic. Your instinct says, "Why should I care about their feelings when they clearly don't care about mine?" But here's the Stoic truth. Offering empathy isn't about them. It's about you and your control over your emotional state. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whenever someone does wrong by you, immediately consider what error led them to this. Once you see that, you'll feel compassion instead of anger." In other words, when someone lashes out, it's usually not because they're evil. It's because they're hurt, insecure, stressed, or fighting their own invisible battles. Think about the last time you snapped at someone. Was it really about them? Or was it about something else going on inside you? The Stoics teach us to look beneath the surface. That doesn't mean excusing bad behavior. It doesn't mean letting people disrespect you. But it does mean choosing to respond from understanding, not ego. Here's a quick Stoic empathy technique. Next time someone's angry with you, before reacting, pause and silently ask yourself what pain or fear might be driving their behavior right now. For example, if your partner is yelling about something small, maybe they're carrying stress from work. If a coworker is acting defensive, maybe they're worried about their job security. Understanding this doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It just means you don't let their emotional chaos drag you down with them. You become the steady one, the grounded one, the one who chooses compassion over combustion. That's real emotional intelligence and pure Stoic strength. Strategy number 8. Seek the common ground. Shift from me versus you to us versus the problem. Here's one of the biggest reasons conflicts spiral out of control. Both people start seeing each other as enemies. Instead of two people facing a shared challenge, it turns into, I need to win, which means you need to lose. But the Stoics would tell you, that mindset guarantees one thing: mutual suffering. Seneca said, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. So how do you apply that during an argument? Shift your mental framing. Instead of thinking, it's me versus them, ask, how can we both work together to solve the problem? Let's say you're arguing with a friend about plans being canceled last minute. Instead of saying, you always do this, you're so unreliable, try this. Hey, I know things happen, but when plans change suddenly, it puts me in a tough spot. How can we handle this better next time so we're both on the same page? See the difference. One approach makes the other person feel attacked. The other invites them to collaborate. Here's a simple Stoic-inspired sentence you can use in almost any argument. What's the best way for both of us to come out of this with a solution we can live with? This does 3 things immediately: lowers defensiveness, signals that you're not here to fight, opens the door to cooperation. It doesn't mean you give up your needs. It doesn't mean you let things slide. It just means you're shifting from combat mode to problem-solving mode. And when the other person feels like you're working with them, not against them, they're far more likely to meet you halfway. Even if they don't, you'll know you handled the situation with maturity and Stoic wisdom. That's how you turn arguments into opportunities for real connection. Before we move on, just take a moment and imagine how much better your last conflict would have gone if you had led with empathy and reframed the whole thing as us versus the problem instead of me versus you. That's the Stoic way. Stay steady, stay focused, and stay above the emotional noise. Strategy number 9. Know when to walk away. The Stoic art of strategic withdrawal. Sometimes, the most powerful move isn't the clever comeback or the perfectly worded argument. It's simply this: knowing when to walk away. Here's the truth that most people don't want to admit. Not every battle is worth fighting. The Stoics weren't about chasing every disagreement to the bitter end. They were about conserving energy, protecting peace, and choosing their battles wisely. Seneca said, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. And sometimes that delay needs to be permanent. Ask yourself, is this person even capable of having a rational conversation right now? Will anything I say actually change the outcome? Am I arguing just to protect my ego? Or is there something meaningful to resolve here? If the answer is no to all 3, then you have full Stoic permission to disengage. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You're not retreating, you're choosing not to waste your mental and emotional resources on something unfixable in this moment. Think of it like this: if someone's drowning in their own emotional storm, you jumping in without a life vest doesn't help either of you. Instead, step back, let the storm pass, revisit the conversation later if needed, when both sides are calm, or not at all. Walking away can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're someone who hates unresolved conflict. But long-term, it saves your sanity, and it leaves you in control of your time, energy, and emotional well-being. Because at the end of the day, the person who knows when to exit gracefully wins. Strategy number 10. Appeal to their better nature, the Stoic way of persuasion. Let's say you've decided the conversation is worth having, but the other person is still defensive, angry, or stuck in their position. What do? Do you push harder? Do you prove them wrong with logic? Do you double down on facts? The Stoics would tell you, appeal to their higher self. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that everyone, even the most difficult people, have a part of them that wants to do the right thing. So instead of arguing against their flaws, speak to their values. Here's how this works in real life. Let's say a coworker is being unfair in a team meeting. Instead of saying, "You're being unreasonable," say something like, "I know you care about fairness, and that's why this situation feels off to me. Can we figure out a solution that feels fair to both of us?" Or if a friend is being dismissive of your feelings, instead of snapping back, "You never listen," say, "I know you're someone who values honesty and communication. That's why I felt surprised by how that came across. Can we talk it through?" What you're doing here is simple, but powerful. You're bypassing their defensiveness. You're reminding them of their own integrity. You're giving them an easy path to correct their behavior without losing face. People don't like feeling attacked, but they do like feeling like they're living up to their own values. The Stoics understood human psychology long before psychology became a formal science. By appealing to someone's better nature, you're not manipulating them. You're simply giving them a reason to rise above the moment. And 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what they'll do. Because deep down, most people want to feel like they're being fair, reasonable, and good. You just have to give them the chance to show it. So before reacting emotionally, before crafting that snarky reply, before preparing your ultimate mic drop moment, pause. Ask yourself, how can I appeal to their higher self instead of reacting to their lower one? It's a small mental shift, but it can change the entire trajectory of a conversation, because when you speak to someone's better nature, you often bring out the best in them. That's Stoic persuasion at its finest. Strategy number 11. Look for growth in the conflict, turning arguments into lessons. Most people walk away from an argument feeling drained, resentful, or stuck replaying the conversation in their head for hours. But the Stoics had a very different attitude. For them, every conflict, no matter how messy, was a classroom. Epictetus said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." In other words, conflict doesn't just reveal the other person's character, it reveals yours. So after every argument, no matter how it ends, take a moment to ask yourself, what did I learn about myself in this situation? Where did I handle things well? Where did I lose control? What triggered me? What would I do differently next time? Maybe you realize you're more reactive when you feel unheard. Maybe you notice a tendency to go silent when you feel attacked. Maybe you discover that certain topics make you defensive faster than others. Whatever you find, don't judge yourself. Just observe, because this is how Stoic mastery is built. One reflection at a time. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. You're not trying to become an emotionless robot who never gets upset. You're trying to become someone who learns, who adapts, who shows up better in the next conversation. So the next time a conflict ends and you feel that post-argument emotional hangover, grab a journal or sit quietly with your thoughts. Ask, what lesson did this give me about them and about myself? Do this consistently, and over time you'll notice something powerful. Fewer regrets, more emotional control, and a stronger sense of who you are under pressure. That's the Stoic path. Strategy number 12. Set boundaries with calm, not rage. Here's a mistake most people make during conflict. They wait until they're furious. Before they set boundaries, they tolerate, and then explode. Suddenly it goes from silence to yelling, from bottling up to blowing up. But the Stoics taught a better way. Seneca wrote, "No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have." Applied to conflict, it means this: you don't have to wait until you're at your breaking point to state your limits. Setting boundaries isn't about being aggressive, it's about being clear, early, and calm. Let's say someone keeps interrupting you in meetings. Instead of snapping one day with, "You always cut me off. Let me finish for once." You calmly say, "I'd like to finish my point, and then I'm happy to hear your thoughts." Or if a friend keeps making jokes that cross the line, instead of laughing awkwardly for weeks and then suddenly ghosting them, you say, "I value our friendship, but that kind of joke doesn't sit well with me. Can we keep things more respectful?" The key here is tone. Stoic boundaries aren't delivered with anger, they're delivered with clarity and composure. Why? Because when you set boundaries calmly, people are more likely to respect them. You're signaling self-respect without hostility. But what if the person keeps ignoring your boundaries? That's where you go back to strategy 9. Know when to walk away. You're not responsible for forcing people to change. You're responsible for protecting your own peace. And sometimes that means distancing yourself from people who refuse to honor your limits. The Stoics weren't about being passive doormats. They believed in personal responsibility, which includes taking action to protect your mental and emotional space. So next time you feel that familiar buildup of frustration, ask yourself, is it time for a calm boundary before this turns into a full-blown fight? Because boundaries set with grace are much more powerful than boundaries set with rage. And the best part? You walk away knowing you handled the situation like a true Stoic. Before we move on, just take a second and imagine, how different would your past arguments have been if you had reflected for growth and set your boundaries early and calmly? That's the level of control you're working toward. Slowly, steadily. With every conversation, you're becoming the kind of person who handles conflict with wisdom and strength. Strategy number 13. Forgive, but for your own peace, not theirs. Let's talk about something most people struggle with after a conflict, even after the argument ends, even after the shouting stops, even after the apology comes or doesn't come. You're still holding on to it. The replay loop starts in your head. I should have said this. I can't believe they did that. They don't deserve my forgiveness. But here's the Stoic truth. Forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about freeing yourself. Seneca put it like this: "He who is angry at the things which happen to him carries the load of his anger wherever he goes." When you refuse to forgive, you carry that emotional poison with you. It eats at your mood. It hijacks your focus. It steals your energy. And the worst part? Most of the time, the person you're angry at isn't even thinking about you. They've moved on. You're the one still suffering. So here's the Stoic strategy. Forgive, not because they earned it, but because you deserve peace. That doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean letting them back into your life. It doesn't mean pretending the hurt didn't happen. It simply means you're done carrying this anger any further. You release it. You breathe it out. You reclaim your mental space. If it helps, write it down. Say to yourself, "This anger is no longer serving me. I let it go." You're not doing this for them. You're doing it for your own freedom. That's Stoic forgiveness. It's not soft. It's not weak. It's an act of ultimate inner strength. Strategy number 14. Use humor as a pressure release, but with caution. Now let's talk about one of the most underrated but most dangerous tools in any argument: humor. Used well, it can defuse tension, break the emotional temperature, and bring both people back to a human level. Used poorly, it can make things 10 times worse. The Stoics knew the power and the danger of humor in conflict. Seneca wrote, "A joke is often a wound disguised in laughter." So here's the rule. If you're going to use humor during conflict, make sure it's self-deprecating, light, and never at the other person's expense. For example, if you feel the conversation getting tense, you might say with a smile, "Wow, looks like we're both in championship mode today." Or, "I'm gonna need a timeout before my brain says something I'll regret." Little moments like that can break the emotional spiral, signal that you're not here for a fight, and open the door for a calmer dialogue. But, and this is important, never use humor to belittle, mock, or dismiss the other person's feelings. That sarcastic jab, that passive-aggressive joke, that underhanded comment wrapped in fake laughter, all of that makes things worse. So before you make a joke in the middle of conflict, ask yourself, is this humor going to lighten the mood or deepen the wound? If in doubt, skip the joke. Silence is better than humor used badly, but when used right, Humor can be a lifesaver. It reminds both people we're just humans. We're allowed to laugh. We're allowed to reconnect. And sometimes, that's all it takes to shift the energy. A small smile, a lighthearted comment, a shared laugh. That's Stoic humor. Not about making fun, but about making peace. Before we move on, pause for a second and think. How many conflicts in your life could have been softened if you had forgiven faster and used light humor, not sarcasm? These strategies aren't about being perfect. They're about giving yourself tools so that when conflict shows up again, and it will, you're ready, calm, grounded, stoic. And now, we arrive at the final and arguably most important Stoic strategy of all. If you forget everything else from this video, if all the other strategies slip from your mind in the heat of the next argument, remember this one. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. Epictetus said it plainly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This is the golden rule of Stoicism. You can't control if someone raises their voice at you, if someone blames you unfairly, if someone acts out of ego, fear, or ignorance, if someone twists your words, if someone refuses to listen. But you can control whether you stay calm, whether you escalate, whether you listen first or interrupt, whether you choose your words carefully or lash out, whether you let the situation control you or stay in control of yourself. This is where your real power lives, because here's the uncomfortable truth. Every conflict, every heated moment, every emotional outburst comes with a choice. That moment when your blood pressure rises, when your heart beats faster, when your brain screams at you to fire back, that's your fork in the road. You can choose reaction, or you can choose response. You can choose to mirror their anger, or you can choose to model control. You can choose to fuel the fire, or you can choose to be the water that puts it out. This doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people disrespect you. It means choosing your response from a place of strength, not weakness. You're not giving away your power, you're protecting it. Because here's what most people forget. Losing your temper feels powerful in the moment, but it leaves you feeling small afterward. Staying calm feels hard in the moment, but it leaves you feeling proud afterward. And that lasting self-respect is what Stoicism is all about. So next time conflict knocks on your door, next time someone pushes your buttons, next time life throws you into another heated conversation, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what's the most stoic response I can give right now? Then give it, not for them, but for you. Because mastering your reaction is how you master your life. Why? These 15 strategies matter more today than ever before. Now let's zoom out for a second. You might be thinking, okay, I get these strategies, but why does this matter so much? Because here's the reality of the world we live in right now. We're more connected than ever, but we're also more reactive than ever. One negative tweet, one rude comment online, one bad day at work, one misunderstanding with a friend or partner, and suddenly, we're in conflict. Add to that the constant noise of social media, the pressure to always be right, the dopamine hit of posting clapbacks and winning arguments online. It's exhausting. And here's the thing, the Stoics understood. Long before Twitter threads or WhatsApp arguments existed, you can't control how the world behaves. You can only control how you show up in it. You get to choose. Do you want to be another person spreading emotional chaos? Or do you want to be the one who brings calm into the room? Do you want to keep burning bridges or start building stronger ones? Do you want to live at the mercy of your anger or be the master of your emotions? Every conflict gives you that choice. And with these 15 Stoic strategies, you now have the tools to choose better, to stay calm, to protect your peace, to respond with wisdom, even when the world around you loses its head. So the next time life tests you, when emotions run hot, when words get sharp, and when silence feels impossible, remember this. You've been training for this moment, and you are stronger, wiser, and more capable than your emotions want you to believe. Bringing it all together, how to apply these 15 Stoic strategies in real-life conflicts. Now that we've explored all 15 Stoic strategies, let's make this real, because let's face it, It's easy to talk about philosophy in theory. It's easy to nod along when we're calm, sitting here, watching a video, feeling motivated and inspired. But life isn't a calm YouTube video. Life is messy, it's emotional, it's unpredictable. So how do you actually apply these Stoic tools when it counts? Let's walk through some common real-world conflict scenarios and see how Stoic wisdom plays out. Scenario number 1, the workplace blow-up. Imagine this. You're in a team meeting. You've worked hard on a project, and suddenly, a coworker criticizes your work publicly in front of everyone. Your first reaction, embarrassment, followed by anger. You want to snap back. You want to defend yourself, maybe even humiliate them in return. But here's your Stoic roadmap. First, pause. Feel the emotion, but don't act on it. Second, zoom out. Is this really a career-defining moment, or just one bad meeting? Third, separate the person from the problem. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe they're feeling insecure. Fourth, control what you can. You can't change what they said, but you can control how you respond. So instead of firing back, you calmly say, "Thanks for the feedback. Let's discuss this offline after the meeting so we can focus on solutions." What happens next? You maintain your professionalism. You show emotional maturity. And most importantly, you protect your peace. Scenario number 2, the relationship argument. Let's move to something more personal. You're at home. Your partner says something that feels like a low blow. It stings. It hits that one emotional nerve you hate having touched. Your instinct, defend yourself, get loud, throw the same energy back at them. But you're practicing Stoicism now, so you choose differently. You use silence. Instead of reacting instantly, you let there be space. You listen first. Let them finish what they're saying, even if it's hard to hear. You reflect back. I hear that you're frustrated. Can we take a breath and talk about this without attacking each other? You seek common ground. Shift the energy from me versus you to us versus the problem. And if needed, you set a boundary. I want to solve this, but I'm not okay with yelling. Let's continue this when we're both calmer. It won't always solve things instantly, but it will almost always de-escalate the fight, and you'll walk away knowing you handled it like a Stoic. Scenario number 3, the social media argument. Ah, yes. The digital battlefield. Someone leaves a rude comment on your post, or worse, they misinterpret your words and start attacking your character. What do? First, pause. Second, cosmic perspective. In 5 years, will this comment even matter? Third, choose your battle. Is this worth your time? Will engaging change anything? 9 times out of 10. The Stoic move is simple. Don't engage. As Marcus Aurelius would say, to refrain from imitation is the best revenge. You don't owe everyone a reply. You don't need to win internet arguments. Your energy is too valuable. But if you do choose to reply, do it with calm, clarity, and without ego. Respond like someone who's already won. Scenario number 4, family drama. Family conflicts hit different. Old wounds, years of baggage, emotions run deep. So let's say a family member says something triggering at a gathering. Maybe it's a passive-aggressive comment. Maybe it's a political jab. Maybe it's criticism masked as concern. Here's your Stoic playbook. Pause. Don't fire back. Seek empathy. What's their fear? Insecurity? Need for control? Use humor carefully. If it fits, a light joke can diffuse the situation. Set boundaries if needed. Let's not go down that road today. I'd like to enjoy the evening. And remember, you control your reaction, not their behavior. You don't need to win every family debate. You just need to protect your peace. In every one of these scenarios, you're not aiming for moral superiority. You're not aiming to win every argument. You're aiming for one thing, to remain in control of yourself, because that's the real Stoic victory. Not walking away with a trophy, but walking away with your dignity, your peace, and your emotional energy intact. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And over time, people will notice. They'll sense that arguing with you feels different, that you're grounded, that you don't get pulled into emotional whirlpools like everyone else. And ironically, That makes you even more powerful in every room you enter. That's the Stoic advantage. And here we are, at the end of this journey through Stoic wisdom, through emotional control, and through the art of handling conflict like a true master of your own mind. Let's pause for a second. Think back to the last argument you had. Maybe it was days ago. Maybe it was this morning. Maybe it's still happening right now, simmering in your text messages. Ask yourself, how did you handle it? Were you reactive or responsive? Did you let your emotions control you? Or did you stay grounded? Were you proud of how you showed up? Or did you walk away with regret? If you're like most people, there were probably moments where you wished you'd done better, where you replayed the conversation in your head, thinking of the things you should have said or the things you shouldn't have said. And that's okay, because that's exactly why you're here. That's why you've stuck with this video until now. That's why you're committed to learning, growing, and changing. And here's the truth the Stoics would want you to remember. Every argument, every conflict, every emotional storm is another chance to practice. You don't have to get it perfect next time. You just have to get a little better, a little more patient, a little more reflective, a little more in control, because real strength isn't about never getting angry. It's about recognizing anger, pausing, and choosing a wiser response. It's about listening more than you speak. It's about separating people from their behavior. It's about setting boundaries calmly and early. It's about knowing when to walk away and when to stand your ground with dignity. It's about remembering that no one can truly control you unless you hand them the keys to your emotional state. And from this point forward, you're not handing those keys over. You're keeping them, protecting them, guarding your peace like the precious resource it is. Because let's be real, you'll face conflict again. That coworker will say something annoying. That friend will push your buttons. That stranger online will throw shade for no reason at all. But next time, you'll handle it differently. You'll pause, you'll breathe, you'll choose rather than react. And each time you do, you'll build more control, more resilience, more self-respect, and slowly, you'll become that person others look at and wonder, how do they stay so calm? How do they never lose their cool? How do they always seem to win without even raising their voice? And you'll smile, knowing that your power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself. That is Stoicism in action. That's emotional strength. And that is what you've been building. Strategy by strategy, moment by moment, choice by choice. If this video gave you value, if even one of these 15 strategies spoke to you, if you feel even a little more equipped to handle your next argument with wisdom and composure, then do two things for me right now. First, hit that like button. It's a small click for you, but a huge signal to YouTube that this kind of content matters, that people want more Stoic wisdom, that this message deserves to reach more people. Second, subscribe to Mind Sprint. If you're serious about mastering your emotions, if you want more deep dives into Stoicism, mindset, and emotional control, then hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every week we're bringing you more tools, more wisdom, and more mental clarity so you can live with less stress and more inner peace. And finally, before you go, drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 15 Stoic strategies you're going to practice first. Is it the pause, listening more, setting boundaries, forgiveness, or maybe just walking away from your next pointless internet argument? Whatever it is, own it, write it down, share it in the comments, and let this be your first act of intentional Stoic reflection, because this isn't just a YouTube video, it's your first step toward becoming the calmest, strongest, most emotionally unshakable version of yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay calm, stay wise, stay Stoic.